Good evening, everyone. My name is Tawana Rivers, the CEO of the 10K Project. We are a wealth building community, a thriving wealth building community. And every Tuesday evening, for those of you who may be new to us, we love on a new Black founder who is doing amazing things out in the world. And so tonight's not any different. We have here with us Michael Anderson with Chilau. Did I say it right, Michael?
Chilau. You're close. Chilau.
With Chilau Foods. He's going to talk to us about his product and all of the wonderful things that he's doing. And we are so excited to have you here this evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the
As,
opportunity.
as always, I am going to start with the campaign page. So let me share my screen. Right. This campaign is on WeFunder. We will be putting the link in the chat and in the comment section of Facebook throughout the evening. So, Michael, you don't have to worry about that at all. Campaign is on WeFunder. To date, Michael has raised $92,448 from 173 investors. Congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you.
The minimum investment is $100. This is a future equity deal term with a $4 million valuation cap. There's still an early bird bonus. Actually, there's a little bit early bird bonus left. The first 100K of investments will be in a safe with a 4 million valuation cap at a 10% discount. So there's still about 7,000-ish before we get to that $100,000. I always like a good bonus. So anytime you can get a little extra is all right with me. I always say this. I won't say anything different this evening. Look at the entire campaign page. Why? Because the founders spend a lot of time building it with information they know you need in order to make an informed decision. And it also helps you do your due diligence, right? And so there's a lot of information here for you and some good looking food too. We're going to talk about this food because these pictures sure look good, Michael. I just said I didn't like the crowds for Mardi Gras, but I sure like good looking food. Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you and stop sharing. And again, welcome, sir. We're so grateful to have you here this evening.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for the opportunity and for those tuning in across the interwebs. I appreciate you for taking the time and, letting me cut into your evening and share my project with you. And I love that Tawana refers to everyone as cousins on the Facebook group. Because if you go to my website and read my page at the bottom, it says, once anyone spends money with me or supports Chilau Foods, I feel like they're family. And I really stick by that mantra for every customer. I treat them like family. That's just, the way I do things. And, when you email in or commenting on social media, like it's me responding, and I take that to heart. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started, and let me try to share my screen here. All right, with my slide deck. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. So I'll start with the first slide here. What is Chilau? Authentic since 1920. And the first question I always get is, what does the word Chilau mean? So Chilau is actually a made up word for crab stew. So in the Tampa area, which is where I'm from, Plant City, Tampa, Florida, there's a dish called crab Chilau. And you could think of this dish as what gumbo is to New Orleans is what crab Chilau is to Tampa. And it's something that my grandmother made my entire life, and she's famous for it in my family. So it's sort of the inspiration around me creating this brand was having a useful way to replicate her recipe, because as we know, our grandmothers do not measure. They cook with love, and they sprinkle and taste. And when they know it's just right, that's when you stop seasoning and it's time to be served. So I think that's sort of what is inside of the Chilau product. So going back to the word, initially I thought my grandmother made up the dish, and I started researching it before I launched the brand, and I discovered that lots of families all around the Tampa area made this recipe, and it actually stems from the late 1800s where in Ybor City, Tampa, there was a migration of Cuban immigrants that came to Tampa to work in the cigar factories of Ybor City. Because back then, Ybor City was known as the cigar capital of the world. Think Tampa Nugget or those types of cigars, they all came from Ybor City. So in 1920, that's where the 1920 comes from. There was a strike where a lot of the Cuban immigrants began to sell street food because they weren't working in the factory. So they started selling things like um, crab croquettes, Cuban sandwiches, and another dish that started to proliferate and spread throughout the area was this crab stew. And the Cuban term is congrejo enchilado. And through that mingling of cultures, it got shortened to just shala. And, when our culture gets a hold of something, we're going to add a little bit more spice to it and kind of take it up a notch. And other cultures that, started mixing recipes and defining this type of cooking was Italian, Spanish, of course, African American community and Cuban community. So you'll see the similarities with Shala that you see in South Carolina with the Geechee culture. You also see it with like New Orleans culture, where you have Native American, Spanish, French, that cultural fusion that makes its way into kind of soulful Southern seasoning. So that's the word, that's Shala. That's how I came up with the name, and that's what it represents. So bold Southern flavor, better for you with no fuss. That's what the brand is all about. And I'm going to show you why it's a soup aisle disruptor. So going to the next slide, mission and vision, to bring joy and togetherness through the power of food. So the vision is to become a pantry staple and household across the globe, reconnecting families around the table. I was raised in a big family that every Sunday we went to my grandmother's house to eat, and it was where the family congregated. And I think, as time has gone on, we're getting less away from congregating around the table because people cook less, they have less time. And, those really complicated meals that have layers of flavor, folks don't want to cook them as often because they take so much time. And, if the food's not good, folks aren't congregating. They're just going to grab food and kind of go their separate ways. So I think that's definitely a staple of the foundation for Chilau. So meet the founders. That's myself and my wife, Karen Anderson. We have two kids, Chase and Mia, who are 8 and 11. And this photo is actually from the summer fancy food show in New York, where we had a blast. So, I definitely had to call out that she's the real boss, and I'm just kind of the face, and, she kind of tells me what to do behind the scenes, and is my event coordinator and logistics person. So I couldn't do it without her. Next slide. So let's face it, the soup aisle is bland. What you have on the soup aisle, you got your chicken broth, beef broth, bouillon cubes, and most of the flavors there are centered around chicken, beef, or vegetable flavor. That's it. There's no seasoning, there's no spice on that aisle, or you'll have bone broth. So it's bland, but it's essential to home cooked meals. So in the last 52 weeks alone, the soup aisle generated over 1 billion in sales. So when you go in your local grocery store and you go in the soup aisle, the blandness that is there, but are things that are needed, generated over $1 billion in sales in the last year. Chilau represents a significant opportunity in the soup bouillon category by offering a unique flavorful alternative that taps into the growing demand for authentic, bold, and ethnic flavor profiles. So competition, where do we sit? So while major competitors like Better Than Bouillon dominate the market, their offerings are primarily revolve around traditional flavors like chicken, beef, and vegetable, as I just stated. Chilau Food stands out by delivering a range of Southern and ethnic flavor profiles that ignite the taste buds and elevate everyday cooking. So we got some help from Nielsen, who has tons of consumer data. And what they showed us is in that last 52 weeks, there's been growth across all flavors and soup bases in the soup aisle. So if you look at the chart to the upper right, where you have chicken, roasted chicken, beef, roasted beef, these percentages represent the growth for those flavor profiles, specifically for the soup and bouillon category. And this is a result of COVID. and the fallout of COVID, where folks were forced to stay home, started cooking a lot more, and are looking for more creative ways and more ways to get restaurant quality food and to get more wholesome meals. So there's growth across this entire category. However, these are the traditional flavors that I, refer to as bland or kind of basic flavors. And remaining flavor, anything that's not this, you think Chipotle flavor or something with more spice alternatives, those remaining flavors that are currently on the market saw 105% growth in the last year compared to, 20% growth for chicken flavor, or tomato and chicken flavor getting like 31% growth. So what we anticipate is, first, let me go over to Better Than Bouillon. So Better Than Bouillon, I would say, is our closest competition. And I say that kind of with a grain of salt, because while we're complimentary on the shelf, where a customer would go to that aisle and say, hey, do I need Better Than Bouillon or do I need Chilau stew base? In that light, they're competitive on the shelf. Off the shelf and then in the kitchen, they're complementary, because our base is meant to be mixed with other bases. So you take our base, mix it with cream, mix it with chicken stock or beef stock. That's where our value proposition comes in, and Better Than Bouillon could be one of those alternatives. So you'd use Better Than Bouillon and water versus Swanson's chicken stock altogether. So that's sort of the difference. However, when we're thinking surely about competition, in the last 52 weeks, 8-ounce jars of Better Than Bouillon accounted for $110 million in sales. So that's the opportunity that we're looking at for Chilau. And what we anticipate is a substantial portion of Soup Owl visitors. We could potentially reach 15% of those customers, generating $11 million over the next 3 years. So let's talk about the flavors of what we have. So we have original Southern style, and our product line of stew bases meets the needs of our target market by providing convenient, flavorful, authentic options for Southern and ethnic flavor dishes. Think beef stew, shrimp and grits, gumbo, stewed chicken, etouffee. I can go on and on and on. I would say the flavor profile is that bell pepper, celery, onion, garlic, cayenne pepper. Those types of flavors is what's concentrated into the Chilau stew base. So we say that Chilau makes it easy. With our 3-step cooking system, consumers can create classic Southern inspired recipes without all the hard work. So those 3 steps are: you choose your base mix, which could be, you can mix it with cream, you can mix it with water, you can mix it with seafood broth or some other stock or even wine or beer, and you put in our base. Then all you have to do is choose your meat and vegetables, and it's going to have a well-rounded flavor. So, and then step 3 is combine, simmer, and serve. So now we have our crab and shrimp boil. Now we're also demystifying and making it consistent and flavorful to do seafood boils without the fuss. So we are probably the first like fresh sauce seafood boil on the market, where most sauces are a artificial flavored extract that you pour in, or you get a dry bag of spice, or you have soak-in bags. All of those alternatives, you're going to hit or miss getting the flavor exactly right every single time, because you're either going to pour too much or you're going to leave the bag in too long. So there's, different dynamics for it. But also, because our product is fresh, like we take fresh chili peppers, cook them down into a paste, and add our spices to it. When you take 2 tablespoons out of our jar and mix that with a gallon of water, you have a perfectly seasoned boil that will be just a little over medium heat. And if you want it even hotter, you can just, add another tablespoon to it. Adjust your salt, add butter and garlic, and you can eat. And I know I'm making folks hungry, but, just bear with me because it's dinner time. So that's our crab and shrimp boil. So I won't read through this whole slide. This is available on the WeFunder page. As Tawana mentioned, please feel free to check it out and kind of read through, what our hypothesis is about Chilau Foods and why globally, there's $11.7 billion to be accounted for when it comes to any type of bouillon or soup flavor base. And this kind of paints that picture about what opportunity is in front of Chilau as a brand. talking about our sales plan. So as we launched into retail in 2023, I had a stint with trying to do this on my own back in 2016 when I first launched the brand via crowdfunding. And I can tell you that retail is a beast and it is not something you just walk into lightly. And after that first stint, I learned a ton of lessons. And for me, I personally think that's what business is about. It's about knowing what you don't know, learning on your feet, and being able to pivot when it's time. So that first stint, I learned what I didn't know about retail. I went to direct to consumer to continue proving my brand, which I'll talk about later, for about 4 or 5 years. And when I returned to retail, I said, when I go back, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to get experts on board who have been in the industry for 40, 50 years that can help me launch properly. And the names that are represented on this slide covering different parts of the country are the broker teams that I have on board that are currently actively selling Chilau into distributors and retailers across the country. And they're also advising me on pricing, positioning, what category we belong in, and all that information is super valuable. So that's the type of team that I have behind the brand. And, there's more detail here that you can definitely read through on the WeFunder page. Marketing plan. Of course, for those that went to business school, I did have a minor in business. I'm actually a computer information graduate from Florida A&M University. Go Rattlers, if any Rattlers on the call. But we're sticking to the basics when it comes to the 3 Ps of marketing, and how we're positioning things. When it comes to retail price, we're $6.99 for our 3 stew bases and $8.99 for our boil base. And again, please feel free to read through this slide. And if you read through the slide, I can definitely cover questions after I get through the presentation. So going into the organization, as you can see what I just mentioned, trust the experts to do what they do best. So I wouldn't consider myself a solopreneur, but I'm pretty close to being a solopreneur. But I have teamed up with industry experts that can serve as functions of my company until I get to the point where I can build my own team. So number one is Omar Tawari, who is my advisor and acting CFO. He's been my advisor since I was at Farmers Markets and kind of really just guiding me along on just the basics of finance and how to price things and negotiate deals. And going down to the left of Jack Swart, he is sort of my guiding light for retail. He's been in the industry for over 50 years, and he is my broker and brand manager. So he's the coordinator for all of the broker teams that that represent the brand. So back on the slide where you saw the map, each one of those names represents a standalone brokerage company that has its own team of 20 to 30 brokers that sell into the industry. And Jack is the person that helps us find who the next broker is. So our approach to sales and brokering is I'll go to trade shows, I make new relationships. And when a retailer says, hey, we want to bring your brand, or there's interest there, what Jack helps me do is to go out and find a broker who is an expert at that chain. So for instance, I had a meeting with Target back in October at Expo East. And as soon as I said, hey, I have a hot lead, where do we go from here? If he's not an expert at Target and how to do business with Target, he goes out and finds a seasoned broker that can help us negotiate and be ready for Target when it's time. And that arrangement is all built into our pricing model with commissions already pre-negotiated and all that. So it's a very smooth process. And then Michael Mann leads our manufacturing. He's actually my co-packer. So I've been with him since I launched my first crowdfunding campaign. So with that relationship, I can stay as small as I need to, but when it's time to scale up and, that big order comes in, he has the capability and the bandwidth to scale up when I'm ready to scale. So that's also great. And then my legal counsel that's helping me with my contracts, and just make sure everything is buttoned up when it comes to our fundraise And, how we go about organizing the business is Davis and Gilbert. And other firms that are supporting me, finally.io helps with bookkeeping and books. And then Spins has really been pivotal in helping us identify from a data perspective where does Chilau belong on the shelf. So financial plan. At a high level, I'm looking to raise $1 million. Here's a breakdown of what I'm looking to do with the funds. So 38% would be for debt consolidation. I would say that 380,000 in debt was me learning where Chilau belongs, the experimentation, just working on the thesis of like, how do we make this a successful brand? That was me, taking my risks and really proving out that I have a product that's worth taking to market. And I think, when you're evaluating us to become an investor, you can think of it as you're investing in a brand that's already taken the risks, that's already pounded the pavement, got cut up and bled, and learned over the years. So what you're investing in is a brand that's proven. I'm also going to provide a link to our reviews on our website. We have close to 1,000 reviews. You can see customers really trust and love our brand. So the following we have is all baked into this debt picture, and then going down to inventory and distribution. That's what the $200,000 is for. And then marketing and PR. Of course, we want to partner with social media. We definitely want to do in-store promotions, sampling, merchandising, all that costs a good amount of money. And then sales and performance data. Once we get to a good amount of distribution, having data is going to be very important for us to know how we can maneuver as the competition starts to learn who we are and begin to make their moves to either follow in the trail that we're blazing or to start competing with us. The way that we see that information is buying data packages from companies like Nielsen or Spins that often those start at $1,000 a month out the gate, just to get access to data. So that's something that will be pivotal. And then salary, professional services have 270,000. So this encompasses brokers, retainers, paying myself, building out a team, bookkeepers, and other staff that will be needed to support the business. And that's the $1 million. So what we're looking at from a revenue perspective, next 24 months, just with the retailers we have today, we can do 1.2 million in revenue. That's selling 1 to 2 units a week, doing promotions, and possibly selling 3 units per week when we're doing promotions. Think like 50% off or buy one, get ones. That's what we're seeing. That's on a conservative number. And then year 2 and 3, we're thinking we'll do 3.8 and 6.3, just looking at the retailers that are close to giving us the green light to hit the shelf. Future plans and milestones, expand North American presence, grow a diverse portfolio, which I'll share some of that future plans there as well, and strategic partnerships, as well as sustainability and social impact. I know for me right now, the name of the game is saving myself and making sure that this company is going to thrive and move forward. But, once we get our feet under us, I definitely want to, be able to reach back and share the knowledge that I've gained with how to go from your kitchen table to the retail shelf in a viable way to carve out like what your lane is. And I think there is tons of opportunity for more diverse brands and more brands that have a unique offering that kind of speaks to our flavor profiles, but can be unique and compete on the shelf. So I definitely want to reach back, when I feel comfortable. And cool facts. So I've served 20,000 customers online. That's through chilaufoods.com. 1,001 5-star reviews. You can read through those as well. And during our time focusing 100% e-commerce, conservatively, we had a 20% repeat customer rate. And when we were really cranking our Facebook ads, we would reach north of 30% repeat customer rate. So That means every time someone bought a single item from us, 30% of the time they come back and buy again, which kind of, proves out the point that we have a high quality product. We have a combined 30,000 social media followers. I am a certified diverse company through NMSDC, and that's through the Atlanta chapter. I saw someone from Atlanta actually live in Peachtree Corners in Atlanta. We manufacture and everything in Florida, but during the pandemic, everyone was soul searching, so it was like, let's try Atlanta out. So retail traction, launched in 2023. We entered 150 locations with Hy-Vee. We signed a deal with Southeastern Grocers and Winn-Dixie, which subsequently closed in October. And that's when we did our retail launch there, distributed through UNFI. And as a result of the Summer Fancy Food Show, we launched with the United family, which is United Supermarkets, Market Street, Albertsons Market, and that's through Kihi Distributors. And one huge distribution that we've picked up that's a lot of opportunity that we haven't had the opportunity to even tap yet is with Performance Food Group. And they are a food service distributor. So they're distributing to, your Hiltons, your Marriotts, your large hospitality restaurant chains. There is a huge value proposition for what Chilau brings to back of house in the food service lane. And I think when we do get to the point where we raise these funds, we'll have the opportunity to start selling into that channel as well. New for 2024, we were just recently awarded On Trend for Pantry by Kihi Distributors. I was just at the trade show in Salt Lake City last week, and here's the, my little plaque here. If my screen doesn't blur it out. Maybe I'll put it by my face and you can see it. But at any rate, so we got the award for On Trend for Pantry. And we also got a partnership with Easy Lid, which allows you to push, twist, and open a jar. So, when you get a jar of sauce or pickles, you got to bang it on the counter, use a knife to open it, all that stuff. Easy Lid has revolutionized how you open a jar. By simply pressing a button on the lid, it releases the suction and you can just twist the cap off. And I'll be pioneering their lid in 2024. And because of this partnership, Easy Lid is actually contributing up to $250,000 worth of promotion. That's TV, radio, in-store promotions, wherever Chilau products are sold, because as Chilau grows, so is their technology spreading into the retail channels. So it's a win-win situation, and I think it's going to be a very profitable partnership for Chilau. So really excited about that. Retail doors. So right now we're in 370 locations, spread across the Southeast and a little bit in the Midwest. And I will say just as of last week, from the Kihi Summer Selling Show, we're probably going to add about another 250 locations in the next 3 months by June. Here, this represents data of, if you go to our front page on our website, there is a map where you can find a location and you can search. These are people actively searching for where they can buy Chilau at retail. That's on our website. And these sort of are the numbers that you can see. This is probably the last 3 months of folks searching. So that kind of shows you what our exposure is starting to look like as we continue to promote. And WeStock is actually a firm that we partner with that allows us to put a form below our map on the website to say, hey, if you can't find a location near you, request it on this form, and they track all that data so that when we are ready to approach a new retailer, we can say, hey, here's where we have locations, here's where folks are searching, here's where your store is, and how many people we can drive to your location. And that's another thing I've learned about retail is having a story to tell and data to back it up. So I made sure to try to put, systems in place to be able to do just that. So into the appendix. Other items. So Chilau stew base is our flagship. We think that's what's going to break the door down for the brand. But the good thing is I already have seasonings that are already loved and followed fanatically by my online customers. And the design is already done. It's just a matter of when are we going to launch these into retail. And one thing I've learned is a crush I had to overcome earlier in my entrepreneur career is try not to bite off more than you can chew. So once we get, a foothold with the stew bases, we will be ready to launch our dry seasonings for the spice aisle. And more importantly, I'm really proud to be a diverse brand that's adding the type of flavor that we love, but in a healthy way. And you'll see when you read through our ingredients that they are very clean, very simple. It's just a matter of the all natural spice blend that gives us our core flavor profile. There's lemon juice and vinegar. That's what keeps it fresh. And our jars have a similar pH to ketchup. So when you open it and put it in the fridge, it's gonna keep fresh for months. And you can add a little spoon at a time to flavor your food, or you can use the entire jar. But it's all, in a healthy, all natural format. We haven't gotten the certifications yet for certified organic or GMO free just yet, because those are costly certifications. However, from an all natural perspective, we do have a very clean label and a very healthy product for you. All right, so these are the other two labels for the Creole Trinity and our crab and shrimp boil. You'll also see just some features of the label. You have your base mix options on each flavor. So if I jump back to the top here, let's start with original. So base mix options for original: stock, cream, tomato base, wine. Recipe ideas: beef stew, seafood stew, gumbo, curry, ramen, chili, chowder, casserole. Over here, Chilau makes it easy. Step one, choose your base mix. These are your mix options. Two, choose your protein and vegetables. These are vegan friendly, so if folks don't eat meat, they can make a very delicious stew without it. And step three, combine, simmer, and serve. And you'll also see on each label, we have our easy to follow ratio. So it's 1 cup of Chilau to 3 cups of a combination of bases that you want to use. So you can see how you can create many types of recipes. And to make it even better, I have a QR code that's on each label that will take you to our YouTube channel, where I do recipes as often as I can. And these are actually dynamic QR codes. So as we kind of build up our content library, we'll be able to direct folks to recipes that are kind of tailored to the season. Like right now, it's Mardi Gras. So happy, Mardi Gras to folks that celebrate. I could take you to, a gumbo or an etouffee recipe, where in the summer, we may take you to how to make a quick dip for a barbecue sandwich or something. So that's sort of what we want to try to really, give customers lots of options when using our basics. So that's the labels. We have descriptions of each product that I kind of went through, and that is the end of my presentation, and happy to start on questions.
Wonderful. Great job, Michael. That was very, very thorough. Thank you so very much for that. Guys, go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A. I'm gonna go first because I too am a potential investor and I've got a lot of questions. You talked about the once opened, the shelf life in the refrigerator is months. What is it unopened?
24 months.
Okay.
Yep. So it's shelf stable, 24 months. Yep.
Very, very good. I also love the pricing. When you talked about kind of adding 2 tablespoons here or there, like you're going to get longevity out of that. So I love that it also has the shelf life to complement the fact that I don't have to use the whole jar in one setting if I don't want to. So I love that. One of the things I want to share with the community is when I saw this campaign and decided to reach out to Michael to come. I looked at the reviews. First of all, I was so impressed that you got 1,100 people to give a review, right?
Right.
Not to mention that I can't get the 39 on here right now to do one for me. And they come every week. So yes, I just called y'all out. Yes, I did. Uh, but I was impressed that, first of all, how detailed of reviews people were giving, right? Like they love this product. And there was no mistaking that. And it was like, okay, I got to get this one. I got to get him on here because people talking so highly of a product. Like I can't remember reading one that was bad. Even the one that wasn't like amazing, it was like, I still loved it, right? Like, it's
Right,
like they
right,
still all love it. And so congratulations on that, because that is not easy to do, right? We live in a very critical society.
right.
And to get 1,100 people to give you 5 stars is, I think, amazing. And it speaks volumes on this product.
Thank you. Thank you.
So congratulations on that. The label.
Yes.
I love that I could read every single ingredient, right? I didn't have to get the dictionary out. I didn't have to figure out how to pronounce something. Like everything on that label was easy to read, familiar, right? It was an ingredient I know. So that is, again, wonderful. And it just goes to speak to how oftentimes the lack of resources prevent us from doing some things that are important, because something like a non-GMO organic label will catch
Right.
the shopper's attention, and
Right.
that could change your financial forecast tremendously, right?
Sure. Sure.
Put you in a whole different category from a financial standpoint. But not having the money, because those things are costly, right? Not
Right.
having the
Right.
funds to get that done, is definitely something that we hope through this campaign you can change. And just so, for the investors, this is the reason why we're here. This is the reason why founders need us, because it's little things like that that can, make a big difference in how
Right.
successful the business is. But everything costs something, and everything counts. Every dollar counts, right? Especially when you're just
Yes.
starting this venture.
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the fact that the soup aisle, you said, was a billion, $1 billion when you look
That's
at the
correct.
soup aisle.
Yes.
It's interesting because, and I don't know how many of you guys go to the soup aisle often, but I don't even see where there are that many varieties of things.
No, it's you're thinking there's Swanson, Knorr, chicken bouillon cubes, the newer items in the soup aisle, and someone said Campbell's, that's correct.
Mhm.
Are bone broths. Those are like the newer things, items to the aisle, but those staples, like, and you'll notice the Campbell's soup aisle, like the condensed soup, those are shrinking in your store.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize it, it's because they're super high in sodium and they're not that healthy. And folks are starting to choose differently, which is why Campbell's is starting to acquire brands. Like, if I don't know if you guys can Google Rayo's. Rayo's is a pasta sauce. It may be one you've never tried before.
Oh, RAO or something,
R
right?
A
Yeah,
R A
they sell it
O
in the Costco
Rayo's.
or the Sam's, one of
Right.
those.
Yeah. Campbell's acquired them 4 or 5 months ago for $2 billion.
Wow.
2 billion with a B, because they're not looking to compete. They're looking to find brands that are carving out a niche of their own and really meeting a need. And Rails is the alternative, healthier, tastier pasta sauce.
Mm.
And that's the pasta aisle. That's not even the soup
That's not
aisle.
even a
So,
soup aisle.
it's the opportunity here is tremendous. So
Wow.
and that's the picture I've been trying to paint is this is what I discovered by listening to my customers. Because I would say one thing about this process in the grocery business in particular is when you go in, you have to know where you belong. When you go in, the buyer's going to ask you, where should you sit on the shelf? You can't just say, oh, maybe on the sauce aisle or maybe on the seafood shelf. Like, maybe we can try. No, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you know where you belong and you know what your value proposition is to be in that category. And for me, when I first launched, I didn't know. I knew I created something to replicate my grandmother's recipe and I released it to the wild. And my customers, those 20,000 people, told me how they use it. What I've learned from a lot of big brands is they have an idea for why they created the product, but the customers tell them what the use is for that product. And
Mm.
for me, when I launched, Chilau was called Chilau seafood sauce because I was making a crab stew. And my customers quickly like said, pump the brakes. I put this on chicken, I mix it with this, I mix it with that. And that trend continued where folks kept telling me, no, this is a base. I did a poll on my Facebook group called the Shilah Heads, and I said, tell me, what do you refer to this when you're telling your family about it, and how do you use it? And a base continued to be that word. So when I said it's a time to pivot to retail, that's the information I took to the brokers when we said we're gonna, redo the packaging and launch this right. And lo and behold, when we looked at the data on the soup bouillon category, I was blown away. I didn't know $1 billion in sales came from the soup bouillon aisle, but that's where the opportunity, and there's opportunities like that all across the grocery store. Um,
Oh.
so yeah, that was yeah. It's always a learning process, and I know there's more lessons I still have to learn,
Mhm.
but it does take resources to be able to get to the level to learn those lessons.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the supply chain
Sure.
challenges and inventory challenges.
Hmm.
Um, I like to try products right before the
Sure. Yeah.
founder comes.
Hmm.
Other, like it was like sold out, sold out, sold out. I was like, that's a good
Yes.
problem to have. But then
So
people who want to try it can't right now. So let's
yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
yeah. People get mad at me a lot. I had a guy, I wouldn't say he was trolling, but he was like, you're an a-hole because you're running an ad and your stuff is sold out. So at one point I was like, damn, that you don't have to talk to me like that. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm happy that you're upset you can't get my product, right? Um, but to answer your question, all my inventory went into the 370 locations that we rolled into. So when I did my last production run, they bought up all that inventory. So now it's like, okay, where's my inventory I'm going to get for online? So right
Mhm.
now, everything for our online sales is stocked and shipped by Amazon. So for instance, if I do a production run today, which is around 480 cases of each SKU, I probably take 20% of that, ship it into Amazon, and then they fulfill my online orders. And then the rest goes into the retail grocer. So that's where that cash crunch comes in. So when you're doing a production run, you're projecting out to say, how much is Winn-Dixie going to need? How much is Albertsons going to need? And if you don't produce enough, they'll slap your wrist and be like, hey, when you're sold out on a grocery shelf, it's a bad thing. It's like
Right,
they're rating you poorly and saying, hey, you got short stock, it's not in stock, they don't like the shelf to look empty.
right.
So I have to save that inventory for them in advance. And for me to be able to have additional inventory to ship into Amazon, you're talking another, $25,000 just to have that available. And I think I'm getting close to that just from with the funds that I've raised so far, the 92,000. I've been able to get my par level inventory for my retailers. And as of probably a week and a half from now, I'll probably have, 20 or 30 cases worth of product for Amazon. So you'll see it for sale again. But my customers who are online that don't have a retail location, they're just going to go snap that
They're gonna
up.
go snatch it up, right? But okay. That I understand. I thank you for breaking it down like that because I
Yep.
definitely understand that. And I have, you go into the grocery store and you see that shelf empty, right? And
Yep.
and it's empty for days and weeks, and it's like,
Yes,
okay, what's going on? That's not a good look for the grocery store, right?
it's
So
not.
I
It's not.
definitely
It just,
understand
yep,
that,
yep.
how you got to get them theirs first. Looks like Tracy said that there are not, they're stored, it's sold in stores, in a store, excuse me, 9 miles from her. And then Talisha says she getting ready to be to connect. So,
Awesome.
so very, very good. Very good. Let's talk a little bit about the exit plan. We talked about, Campbell's buying Rouse. What is the plan for Shala?
Mhm. So as of right now, I'm positioning the company to be attractive to those larger conglomerates 5, 10 years from now. Um, but that doesn't say that I'm 100% on board to say I want to sell my company. I definitely think as all entrepreneurs, you have to grapple with, do I want to run this long term? Do I want to take some chips off the table? Because as we've seen the debate surge around, for instance, with the honeypot founder, bringing on new investors, and I think she um, was able to sell a portion of her equity for 380 million, taking some chips off the table. There's like a debate around, are folks from our community selling out when they build up companies to this level? And, I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurial community are like, when you bleed to build a company so big, you have to be able to have an opportunity to take chips off the table, and realize your win. And I think for folks that invest in this company, I'm definitely 100% dedicated to having a moment and an opportunity for folks to get a return on their investment. And I would say the reason why I kind of got a well-established legal team up front is, if the company grows the way I think it's going to grow, there may be an opportunity for us to start paying dividends and go for, a public offering or IPO, where your stock is going to quadruple in value post IPO, to be able to realize that profit. So I think these two things are on the table, but I do see an exit event happening where it's either, I wouldn't say an exit event, but an equity event happening, where either, a portion of the company is going to be acquired by a larger company that I think won't mess up the brand or won't change the recipe. But I do think from a legacy perspective, I do want to keep a portion of the company, for my family,
Mhm.
for my kids, like that. But definitely it's something that's top of mind. I can't read the stars just yet of what
Right.
that is, but I do have confidence that this is an opportunity that's going to return a substantial
Very, very
return.
good. Jessica said people's issue is when those companies, or when these companies are built off the backs of the Black customer base and then they're sold. It's an interesting debate, and we hear it all the time. We have it here sometimes when the founder tells what their exit plan is, and
Right.
I'm split, right? I think
Mhm.
it depends, right? I know that's kind of the easy answer, but I really believe that it depends on the product. It depends
Right.
on the company wanting to buy it. It depends on if the founder's staying on or not. It depends on the ethics of the company buying it, right? Will they
Sure.
keep the recipe the same? Will they honor the work that's done, right? I think all of that matters. The
Yep.
other thing is sometimes you want to build a company to greatness and then get rid of it so you can do something else great, right?
Yep.
Like nobody says when you start one business that has to be your life. We get to have multiple ideas. We
Right.
get to scale and grow, sell, and then scale and grow and sell something else. So I think, and it's difficult to do that successfully when you have too many irons in the fire, so to speak, right? So you hold on to the first baby, trying to grow the second one. First one may be neglected a little bit. So I really, really think it depends. I would love for our community to be a little more open-minded with it, because
Sure.
they definitely get, like when Honey just happened with Honey Pot, social media blew up, like,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
oh, she sold it, we
Right.
defended her when the people gave bad reviews, and now she went ahead and sold it. And it was like, okay,
and one
this is
thing,
a conversation I think we have to come to terms with at some
yeah,
point.
definitely. And one thing I'll add to that is you have to look at the pool of the acquiring companies. Like, how many pools of large conglomerates are Black owned, or how many pools of investment groups are Black owned that can cut a check for $2 billion. And the only way you're going to build that pool of Black owned, VC firms and holding companies is by having entrepreneurs ascend to that level to be able to start looking back and acquiring other Black owned or diversity owned companies. So it's the tale of two coins, but it's something you gotta come to grips with and make good decisions on. But I return back to my original statement when I first opened is when you spend money with me, I treat you like family. And I think when folks invest in my company, transparency, listening is all a part of that process. And I'm going to take care of the folks that helped me reach the next level and that took care of me. And the same way that $92,000 represents my customer base, which is a diverse customer base, but there's also, folks that represent my community as a part of the Chilau heads, as I call them, that's helped this brand reach this point. So, it's there's never a right answer when it comes to, should you sell, should you IPO? I would say my North Star is that if I have the ability to IPO and let the stock of this company generate wealth for others, like a Coca-Cola, let's do it,
Right.
That's a good problem to have.
Good problem to have. Absolutely. Wayne, let's get into the questions. Guys, put your questions in the Q&A. Wayne said, can Canadians get in on this? So Wayne, yes, as long as it's legal in your country, from an SEC standpoint, you should be able to, as a foreign investor, as long as it's legal in your country to invest in American companies. So, and that's typically the WeFunder rule. Jesse said, if the brand is to beat the blandness of the competition, which I am sure it does, therefore the colors of the jar should pop out like the flavors inside. The color palette is there, but the brightness should pop. So Jesse's complimenting or commenting on the label itself.
Sure. Nope, I 100% agree. I think if you go, folks that have to go grocery shopping, the next time you go, I want you to go to the soup bouillon aisle. Wherever you find chicken broth, go to that aisle and look at the colors of the labels. So the Better Than Bouillon, which is our closest competition when it comes to form factor and price, all their jars are Black. Your Swanson stock is blue and white, like a dark blue and white. And I would say our logo is probably has the most fun and bright contrast when it comes to logo versus the bottom border of the label and all that. But that's definitely good feedback, and I'm always exploring other opportunities to kind of brighten things up and to call out more to get attention to the label. So I definitely appreciate that feedback.
Very good. And Bernard, I know you asked the question about the website and being able to order. So I know that Michael explained that. So just look at the locator, see where the closest area is, where there's, a store that is distributing, and then hopefully you'll be able to find it there.
Yeah, so I definitely would say if you all could do me a favor, the form that's below, if you go to location, there's a locations link at the top, or there's a little link below the map where it says, if you can't find a location, complete this. If you can do that, it helps me tremendously to make a case for a retailer closest to you. And I'll say that I just scheduled a shipment from my warehouse in Florida to come to me by next week that'll have about 55 cases of each, which there are 6 units in a case. That will be available on Amazon probably, I want to say next Friday, if not the Monday after. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
But if it sells out, like
they don't come after you. That right.
my dream is to do a double production run. So a full production run for me costs just around, let's say $32,000. That's 480 cases of each, 32 grand. If I can do a triple production run, that would be wonderful. But here's the risk part when it comes to production, just to kind of shed a little light for you. KE distributors and UNFI have a 18-month guaranteed shelf life where they won't pick it up if it doesn't have 18 months of shelf life. So I have 24 months total. So if I make too much inventory,
Right.
and it's more than 6 months old, they won't take it. And I'm gonna have all this inventory that I gotta sell in alternative places, and I can sell online. But if the online traffic isn't buying it that quickly, now I'm stuck with inventory. So
Understood.
it's a give and a push thing. And at this size, that's where you get to the use case where you need to raise funds so that you can be able to respond quickly to demand, and get inventory in place super quick. And my turnaround time for inventory is usually about 45 days.
Nice. I'm going to offer this up. I offered it up last week. We had another product, blanket pancake and syrup. I think I'm gonna
Mhm.
make an introduction also, because it's always good
Sure.
to know people who are in this space, right? So you
Yeah.
guys can bounce things off of each other and share resources. But we had a speaker a couple of weeks ago, Kiwana Eaton, who's an inventory management specialist.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to make an introduction because I feel like she has a wealth of knowledge, right? That could really
Right.
help you as you start to strategize and
Yep.
start to grow into more locations as well.
Yep. I love that.
Just making myself a note here. Very good. Wayne said, can a Canadian become a broker? So Wayne's not just interested in getting the product. Wayne wants to help you broker it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's wide open. Like, I would say the brokers that I work with so far are folks that have existing relationships, or they have expertise in a certain chain. And if you have that expertise and network, happy to hear more.
Very good. So how can somebody like Wayne get in contact with you, Michael?
Yep.
What's the best way?
If you send a message to anything that's Chilau Foods, it comes directly to me. So
I
that's
love
the
that.
thing of
I
being
love
a
that you said
solopreneur.
earlier, you said it's
Yeah.
always you responding. I love
It's
that.
always me responding. If it says, "Hey, we from Chilau," no, it's me. It's me right now.
It's funny. I had a gentleman
um,
reach out the other day and we got like 3 email addresses, right? He reached out on
uh-huh.
one and I didn't respond that day. So he reached out on another one. He said, I sent an email to Tawana. Oh, and I said, yep, still me. It's still,
Yep.
she got it.
But
And I'm still here. It's still me.
I'm gonna put my LinkedIn in the chat here. There's my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to shoot me a
Very good.
message. Happy to talk more. And I'm on Facebook too. So Chilau Heads is my group. At Chilau Foods, Facebook um, is there as well.
Nice. Bernard said the locator shows there's no store anywhere in my area. That means within 3 to 5 states. He's in New York.
Okay.
So nothing within 3 to 5 states. So we gotta get the East Coast on the map here.
Oh yeah, we waiting to hear back from Wegmans. I believe they're in the Northeast. Um, Price Chopper and some of the ones were, hot leads, not guaranteed yet, but we're working to close soon are HEB, Meyer,
Mhm.
Brookshire's, that's Texas, Wegmans, Safeway, Albertsons, Sprouts, Fresh Time, and
Nice.
some other independents. So you'll be seeing us more in the next couple months.
And Carletta wanted to know if you were in or near Kentucky.
Kentucky, I don't think so.
I know I didn't see you in the Kroger because I looked.
Yeah, yeah. Kroger is a whole different animal.
Mm,
Like, and that's where that data comes in. Like before you get on the shelf at Kroger, like they want to see the data and they want to see 6 months worth of data and how
right.
much your product's selling off the shelf at another retailer. And then, but we're going to get there. It's on the
Yes,
top.
indeed. Very, very good. All right. Any more questions, guys? Talisha, do we have any questions in Facebook?
No, ma'am. Just a comment from Norris Jones. And he just says that he's very knowledgeable and likes this pitch.
Good.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. All right, I'll give you guys a few minutes to do any final questions. Let me just look at my page and make sure I don't have any more. I love that you're expanding to the seasonings. I didn't mention that, but that's another, because one of the questions I was going to ask was where any new products on the horizon, kind of where do you see yourself with new bases? And then so it was nice to see the seasonings.
Yep.
Um,
And so another item that was super popular that I hated, I had to take off the website is we have a seasoned rice. It's
Ooh.
called Southern red rice. And it's like a mix between Cajun seasonings and like a South Carolina red rice. And all the seasoning is on the rice, all natural ingredients. You pour the water out the door. Like you can make jambalaya, dirty rice, or just a flavorful rice. However, the manufacturing for rice and finding a co-manufacturer is a little bit more difficult. And again,
Mm,
circling back to me biting off more than I can chew when it comes to returning to retail, I had to say, all right, which ones do I need to go first with? And when I was D2C, I could just, contract, get enough rice, sell it, then it'll sell out, then I'll do a pre-order, and then people will get upset, like, I love this rice. I make it every Sunday and now you don't have it no more. So um, but I think that speaks to sort of the way I plan on growing the business is we'll introduce new products online,
okay.
prove it out, make sure people love it, and then we'll introduce it to retail. And the good thing is I already have 3 spice blends that I know people absolutely love, and it's just a matter of timing. And the rice is another product that I know people absolutely love, and it's just a matter of the timing. So that's 3 categories right there, or 3 aisles, I would say, that we have opportunities for just for the Chilau Foods brand.
Wow. And once you start getting brand recognition in multiple aisles, that's a big deal.
Yep.
That's a big deal. This has been wonderful. I love how you learned the lessons that you needed to learn, right? And that
Yep.
you really are strategic with this now.
Yes.
And so when I think about this with my investor ears and
Mhm.
eyes, right? I like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. I love that you're not trying to do the most, right? Because in
Yes.
this situation, that is not a good strategy. And
No.
I just absolutely love that you have partnered with some amazing team members, right? You've built a winning team around you with
Mhm.
people who can help guide you through this process. And you have learned the do's and do nots. And so I absolutely congratulations on the journey. And thank you for
Thank you.
bringing us along for this part of it. We really appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And I think every entrepreneurial story is different, but at some point, like bleeding happens and it's painful. But the ones that learn the lessons and get humbled by the process, those are the ones that end up winning. Because I think where I am right now is because I got humbled by the process. When I first started, like I know I can create an amazing flavor profile. Like spice blending that's
Mhm.
my thing. That's what I do. And I had all these products that I wanted to bring to market, and they're all gonna fly off the shelf at the same time. But it's like, okay, how much does it take to get one product on the shelf?
Right.
How much money do you need to put behind that? And those were the humbling experiences of this thing is hard for one product, one SKU. So the more SKUs you have, quadruple how much money you're going to need to break that product on the shelf. But 6 years ago, I would have tried it. I'm
Right.
like, look,
Right.
I got 5 sauces. I got 2 barbecue sauces. I got a seasoned rice. I got a fish fry batter, and we bringing it
Mm.
all, baby. So,
Mm.
and life gonna say pump the brakes. Let me beat you up a little bit, and let me break you down to the studs. And that's what I say. I built the brand back from the studs, because you got to be on the brink of, like this may not be here tomorrow if you don't
Right.
make some changes. And that's what leads to a winning product and listening to your customers.
Yeah. To the community, and we've got another question I'll read in a minute, but
Mhm.
typically I like to give you my review when we have a product based company. He's got 1,100 of them, read them. They are very descriptive, and I think they speak for themselves on what this product is and what it means to those households, right? If we have stores next to us or near us, absolutely go and try to find Chilau on the shelf. I'm not a financial advisor, so I cannot tell you what to invest in, but my job is to bring you amazing deal flow. And I feel like I did that tonight. And so I would say to you, do your due diligence, decide if you want to add this to your portfolio, right? And then act accordingly. I always tell you guys, don't wait to the last minute, because we never know when these founders are going to get some exposure to people who have a lot of money, right? So there's somebody out there that's got Michael's million, right? One person has got Michael's million. And it only takes that one person to even see this presentation and say, I want in. And so, then the rest of us may not get the opportunity because the campaign, could come down. So definitely consider adding this to your portfolio, and don't just consider the minimum, right? This is a very reasonable minimum. I think I said $100 earlier, but think about, long-term investment, and sometimes doing more than the minimum may be best for you as well when you think of long-term. But again, that's for you to decide. I saw another question in here. Let's see what it was.
It was regarding the pitch slide. So I just sent them to the website, to the campaign page.
Very good. Yeah, the slides are on the WeFunder page. Very good. Okay, if there are no final questions, you guys know, share the heck out of the campaign link. That's what I want you to do. Please post it on your social profiles, share it with your family members. Let's stalk that Amazon site so we can get some of those jars when they come out.
Yep. And don't forget to fill out that location request form.
That's right. And let's fill out the location form saying we want it in our area.
Yes.
So who's that? Was Carletta? Since we're both in Kentucky, we need to fill it out a couple of times. We do use all our email addresses. Oh, goodness. All right. Michael, what are your final words for the community, sir?
My final words are, first, thank you to the cousins. I appreciate all of you. If you join this ride and join this journey, you can check the page. You see the updates. You will be an insider on Chilau Foods. I promise that. And there's a lot of opportunity here. And the same way I've told my own personal, like, blood family members, sometimes it's hard to get them to realize what the opportunity is, because I've done so many crowdfunding campaigns. They're, even though I say equity and I try to explain it to them, and they're not as versed in equity investing, when I say, hey, this is a lifetime opportunity and not just blowing smoke. It's like, just like you just said, Tawana, I get $1 million tomorrow, campaign's done. This campaign ends March 29th, and the more I pick up momentum, so from the Kehi show, winning the award, getting a chain that says, hey, we're going to put you in 150 locations, a lot of times that's all a big investor needs, right, to say, all right, here's a check.
That's the traction they're looking for. Yeah.
Yep. You've proved enough. But yeah, and the last thing I'll say is, you never know which brand, like, even if you don't invest in me, this is just speaking to the community in general about crowdfunding, because I built my entire company off crowdfunding from day one. It was Kickstarter 3 times, 4 times, and then this. You never know which company is going to be that one, and I'm hoping that Chilau is that one for you.
Yeah, well, this is wonderful. Carletta said her dad was the first person to sell Grippos. Grippos is a potato chip from this region in Kentucky, on his grocery bus in 1985. First of all, I want to talk about the grocery bus. A grocery bus? That like, some of the food deserts need that today. A grocery bus. Wow. But back in 1985, so being able to, believe in a product early, right? Because that's what I'm getting, believing in a product early taking a
Yep.
chance and selling it and buying it and investing in it and all of those things. I mean, that's what this journey is about. And as investors, being able to have amazing founders like Michael believe in the investment crowdfunding model, right? Because not everyone does, right? It's a lot of
Right.
work, right?
Yep.
A
Yep.
lot of work, and not always for a big return, right? It depends. And
Right.
so I'm always so grateful for the founders that do it, because if not, those of us in the community that are non-accredited would not have the opportunity, right? The
Right.
accredited
Right.
investors would still have it. You still may not know where to find the deal flow, right? But at
Right.
least you
Right.
could invest in the deal flow. But to the non-accredited investors, you wouldn't be able to probably do both. And
Mhm.
so for the founders that believe in this model the way I believe in this model, I'm always grateful that they bring us along on the journey.
Right.
Michael, I'll share with you the founder we had last week on Blanket Pancake. One of our members, I think it was Jessica. I think you did it yesterday. I think it was yesterday. She was in the grocery store and saw
Mhm.
it on the shelf. And so
Right.
took a picture of it and posted it in the community. And it was just kind of like, like
Yep.
it was
So
like,
you
that's
just,
what's up. Like like we want to become part of the family for real. Like we believe in this thing when
yeah.
we bring you to the community. We feel the same way you do about your community, right? Once you come in here, you're 10K family. I mean, we believe that.
And my last thought, and what you just reminded me of, is not just about my investment, but thinking about the opportunity overall. We didn't have this opportunity a few years ago
Yeah.
when Obama signed the Jobs Act. I think it was 2012 or 2014. That's what opened the door for sites like Start Engine and WeFunder to allow regular people the opportunity to invest in big business. Before that act was signed, you had to be an accredited investor, meaning you have millions of dollars in the bank, and you can prove that you have $1 million in the bank. Then you can cut a check to myself for a piece of my company. Before, you didn't have that option. Now you do. And when you see a company that you believe in, like, take the chance. If it's just $100, cool. If you got more, do it. Because 60, 70 years ago, when Coca-Cola was looking for an investor, that was an accredited investor who invested the money. And when they went public, right, when they did an IPO and people in a small town decided to buy that stock, and then 30 years later from the IPO, those people became millionaires. Think about the people that invested the equity before the IPO. How much money did they make? And this is the opportunity for regular everyday folks to make a big dent. Like, if you bet on 10 companies and one of those 10 is the one that's the rocket ship, you just change your family's life. So that's my last point. That's
That's
why
it. No, that's
I
it.
love
And,
that
I'm
crowd.
gonna compliment that. I haven't given this example in a very long time, but you guys, for those of you who have been with us to the beginning, you remember we talked about Oculus and Facebook right before it was Meta. And Oculus is the VR device. They had I think they had a campaign on Indiegogo, not Kickstarter, but it was a rewards-based crowdfunding.
Mhm.
And they were pre-selling the system for like $300, right? And they sold like pre-sold thousands of them. Like they made a killing selling them, right? Because it's cool, it's technology, and it's a great product. And then when Facebook bought them, the had those people who just got the device, because Facebook paid like billions of dollars, right, for Oculus, had the people had equity, right,
Right.
instead of just the $300 device, and invested $300, the return would have been something crazy like 80 grand per person.
Mhm.
Like that, like something ridiculous like that. Now they ended up with a really cool VR headset. Okay, kudos to them. But imagine if they would
Right.
have had ownership. And so that's what, obviously there are no guarantees, there are no promises, because investing,
Right.
there never are, right? And we're not going to lead you to believe that here today. But that's just one example of something that actually happened, right? There was another example of Snoop invested in something. I think he invested like 10,000 and made $1 million. Like, there are examples of this over and over again. That's what getting in early allows for, right? So
Yep.
that's the key with getting in early. Once these companies are already public and on the stock market, there's some return, absolutely, but not like the first people got. It's
Yep.
never, you
Yep.
never make that much of the return again. Yeah. So this
Well,
has been
this has been
absolutely
fun.
wonderful.
I've loved the conversation. You know, even if we want to have more conversations in the Facebook group, as I told you when I signed up, I'm happy to give back, share my knowledge. You know, we can do some more calls like this, you know, where I'm just sharing and answering questions. Happy to do that.
I would love that. And the more I'm learning about these CPG brands and how the grocery stores work, right? I've just been a consumer, so not even, I'll be honest, I didn't even realize, I guess logically I knew you had to make the product to go on a shelf, but I didn't realize there was so much cost associated with getting on a shelf, right? And so after hearing last week's presentation and this one, I feel like there are entrepreneurs out there who want to get into this area of
Mhm.
business and they need help on where to start, right?
Yep.
And they need some guidance on where not to bleed, right?
Yes.
And so
I
I
I can
feel like
share
I
plenty
want
of
to
them.
have a panel where we just educate them, bring some
Mhm.
of you guys here, and we just kind of talk about some of the war stories and things that you've learned along the way so that we can help other Black founders have a smoother run at it. I would
Right.
love to do that, and I'd love to have you included in that, Michael.
Awesome. Well, I'm here to help. Like if I had someone to ask 6 years ago, you know, so
Yeah,
thank you.
very
Thank you
good.
again. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, guys, 10K project. We need a good name. He's got Chilau heads. We need
Yeah, you got to name the following.
I
You got
need,
like,
right. Bay got the Bay Hive. What
yep,
we
yep.
got here? What we got going on? Let's do. We know what we got to do, guys. All jokes aside, we are here for a reason, and so now the ball is in your court, my lovelies. I love you guys. Thank you for rolling with us. I know I talked mess about y'all with not leaving reviews, and I meant that, but I still love you. So, peace and blessings, guys. See you later.